from our experience. So, Ms. Well, good afternoon, Mr. Andrew Mattews.
Nice
Welcome to the National Critics' Choice. We hear that you have launched a new book called Stop the Bullying, and a lot of my readers are wanting to know what kept you, writing about this topic, and what's your inspiration? Was it based on your personal experience, being growing up as a child? Did you ever face bullies in your life?
I was somewhat bullied as a child, but that's not what prompted the book. It was really my wife and publisher Julie who said this problem is getting so big and it's so international that we need to do something. And of course my first question was, why me? Because it's quite a departure from the usual books that we've written that are books about happiness, books about choosing to enjoy your career and so on. But our books tend to be simple. Hopefully they're simple, easy to understand. As many of my readers would know, I include cartoons in my books to make them accessible and hopefully more enjoyable. And so we thought, well, perhaps we need to, someone needs to do something about this international plague, if you like, of bullying, and perhaps we're the people to do it. Julie had read some very disturbing stories from Australia, one about a young boy who jumped off the Westgate Bridge in Melbourne, and another one about an older man who was bullied by 5 youths. And she was really distressed and hopeful that we were going to be able to do something to help the victims of bullying, to help the bystanders to make a stand, and also do something for the parents who are raising children, and also address the bullies themselves. So it's a book that has a message for all of those groups.
And how long did you embark on this project? It must have taken you a lot of research and
yes.
And time.
We first started gathering material a couple of years ago, and then with that material I sat down and basically for the whole of this year have been writing, and then the cartoons usually come at the end. When I know what the text is, then I tend to create the cartoons. So for the most part of 2011 I've been putting this together, and Julie and I have really been working on the project together.
And what sort of advice would you give for policymakers and parents, in handling severe cases or cases that has been so-called deemed as serial bullies in schools? How do you?
Well, the first place we start, I guess, is talking to parents who have young children who aren't yet bullies, and how do we prevent creating bullies? And the research shows that there are really about 4 factors that create bullies. Number 1 is a lack of warmth in the home, a lack of love in the home. I guess seen from another point of view, if children feel loved and worthwhile, then they don't go out and bully other children to feel good. So as parents, we need to make sure that our parents feel appreciated and loved, and they have a lot of warmth and a lot of attention. The next one is that we put limits on aggressive behaviour of children as parents, that we make sure that we say this is acceptable and that is not. That we help children to understand that you can't have everything you want. And when children come to learn that you can't have everything you want in life, and that adults, parents, place limits, then they come to adjust to that idea that you can't harm other people, you can't, that you respect other people. Children who learn respect don't go and bully other people. The third factor that creates bullies is children who are aggressively or physically punished. Children who are beaten and slapped and whacked are more likely to become bullies. And then the fourth factor is the temperament of the child, and that's a little bit harder to control. There are some children who will naturally just be more But those are four factors that any parent can bear in mind before their child becomes a bully. If your child is a little older and is already a bully, then as one parent wrote about or explained to us in the book, they were very mindful of not criticising or beating their child and saying, you stop this behaviour. That again, we need to start spending time with a child who's a bully and trying to understand, why are you doing this, and what is it that you're trying to achieve by bullying other children. And as a child starts to understand that by being questioned and by being able to discuss his behaviour, then he sees that there are other options.
And speaking of options, do you believe in this old saying, which many parents may have perhaps taken it for granted, that is, if you spare the child, you destroy the child's future. By sparing the child from the rot, that is.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you believe in caning? Is caning good for the child?
The research shows that children are less likely to be bullies if they are not punished physically. In my own experience, I received a bit of caning and physical punishment when I was a child, but I had that in the context of a lot of love and a very warm upbringing. So I didn't go out and become a bully, but at the same time I need to respect what the research says, is that children are more likely to be bullies if they are beaten and whipped at home. And that is simply, we see something happen, we think it's normal, and then we think it's okay to go out and reproduce that. It's the same as children that are sexually abused are more likely to go out and sexually abuse their children when they grow up. So it's a learned behaviour. Bullying is very much a learned behaviour in many ways. We learn that it's acceptable. We maybe get it from our bigger brother or our father, and then we go out and we do that.
So what do you see the trend of bullies right now, and do you see the decline of bullies in the future?
Well, at the moment not. We're hoping that our book Stop the Bullying is going to change that, because there is really an explosion of bullying, and not just in teenagers, but we're looking at children of 6 and 8 years old who are frightened, scared to go to school, or even won't go to school, who are getting psychotherapy because they are being bullied on the way to school, at school, coming home from school, and then they open their laptop when they get home and there's more of it, more cyberbullying. So it's a big issue. And one of the big messages that we're trying to get across from this book is that if you are being bullied, you need to tell someone. The shocking statistics are that only 1 in 10 bullied children will tell anyone, tell their parents or tell it. Or actually only 1 in 20 bullied children will tell a teacher. So there's other research, other data that shows that when bullied children are given the opportunity to explain what has helped them and what hasn't helped them, that telling a parent or an adult is the most helpful thing that a bullied child can do. It's not always that the parent is going to race down to the school and say, you fix this, but just the fact that a child can explain something to an adult who cares is very important.
And could you also elaborate, is there any statistics and studies found that if a child were to share its problems and about the case of bullying, were there any improvements at the household as well as in the school environment?
Well, there was the Youth Voice Project studied 13,000 bullied children, and they looked at about 13 courses of action that could either help or hinder or even create more bullying. And the most helpful one was to share the problem with a parent or an adult. The least helpful was to start hitting the bully or Even to tell the bully that I don't like what you're doing doesn't necessarily help. Because bullies know that you don't like it. That's why they do it. Because bullying is not about anger so much. Bullying is about just despising them. It's about the bully says, I'm better than you are, and you deserve it, and I can bully you because I can. So it's not that the bully is angry with the bullied child. It's really about contempt. So telling an adult or telling a parent can lead to a lot of things. It can lead to the children coming to understand, firstly, that it's not their fault. The message that we need to get to a bullied child is, it's not your fault, and nobody needs to be hit, punched, made fun of. And the thing is that a child, and even a teenager, doesn't appreciate that. We think, well, the teenager, surely he understands that it's not his fault. But if you're a child or a teenager, you can come to believe that there's something wrong with you. If this thing goes on and on and on, then what happens with a young person is they don't see it like an adult sees it. They just think there's something wrong with them. So that's why it's so important to talk to an adult, talk to a teacher, go to the police. That's why it's so important that bystanders, the friends of children who are being bullied, or even classmates, are prepared to come alongside the bullied child and say, this is not right, and I'm going to be with you, and I'm going to come with you, and we're going to tell some people about this.
Speaking of not being right and so forth, I know that Stop the Bullying has come very far, thus far. Do you have any plans to write a sequel?
Not yet. I tell you what we do plan to do. All of my books are in about 38, 39 languages. So this is the first stop. Singapore is the place where we're launching this book. By virtue of the fact that my books have been so embraced in Singapore, and we're just on our way back from the Frankfurt Book Fair. So as we've done with a number of my books, we said let's launch Stop the Bullying in Singapore and go from there. So then we're going into all of the other English-speaking countries, and then we'll be launching the foreign language versions. And we're hoping to take a message with this book. We're hoping to take a message to schools. And the message is, let's start teaching kindness alongside chemistry. Let's encourage our kids to say nice things to each other, to give a compliment a day to your schoolmates. That we say, okay, so we need to accomplish academically, but we're about teaching character as well, and we're about having empathy. To understand what it is like for those kids who lay awake every night in fear of showing up for school the next day. What are they going to say to me? What are they going to do to me? The kids that don't even want to get out of bed in the morning, that are just so fearful and so sick with shame and guilt. I mean, how can you perform at school when you're going through those sort of emotions on a daily basis? So, we want to help those kids.
Well, thank you, Mr. Andrew Mattews. And ladies and gentlemen, please do get hold of his book, Stop the Bullying, by Andrew Mattews, his latest title, and it's one book that you cannot miss and cannot deny. Thank you, sir.